From the icy plains of Siberia to the bustling streets of Moscow, Russia has long captured the world's imagination. It is a land of vast distances and even grander ambitions, a place where history unfolds on an epic scale. The story of Russia is one of sweeping change, marked by both dazzling triumphs and devastating setbacks. It is a story of powerful rulers, from the mighty Tsars to the iron-fisted grip of the Soviet regime. But it is also a story of the indomitable spirit of the Russian people, who have endured centuries of upheaval and emerged as a force to be reckoned with on the world stage. How did this sprawling nation, stretching across 2 continents, become the global power it is today? What forces shaped its destiny, from the rise of its first rulers to the tumultuous revolutions that would redefine its place in history? Our journey through Russian history begins amidst icy rivers and dense forests, where Viking longships once plied the waterways, laying the foundation for a powerful empire. We will witness the rise of the mighty Tsars, their reigns marked by both brilliance and brutality. From the conquests of Ivan the Terrible to the modernizing zeal of Peter the Great, each ruler left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche. The echoes of revolution will reverberate through the ages, from the fall of the Romanov dynasty to the tumultuous birth of the Soviet Union. We will explore the profound impact of communism, the devastating toll of World War II, and the chilling standoff of the Cold War, a period when the fate of the world hung in the balance. Finally, we will delve into the complexities of modern Russia, grappling with the legacy of its past, while navigating the uncertainties of the 21st century. Our story begins amidst the vast plains and winding rivers of Eastern Europe, long before the name Russia appeared on any map. It is here in the 9th century AD that a loose federation of Slavic tribes began to coalesce into a powerful entity known as the Kievan Rus. Centered around the city of Kiev, this nascent state drew its strength from the fertile lands surrounding the Dnieper River, a vital trade route connecting the Baltic Sea with the Byzantine Empire far to the south. The early rulers of the Kievan Rus, known as Grand Princes, were a mixture of legend and historical figures, their exploits shrouded in the mists of time. Yet their impact was undeniable. These warrior princes forged alliances, expanded their territories, and laid the foundation for a powerful realm that would dominate Eastern Europe for centuries. But the story of the Kievan Rus is not merely one of conquest and expansion. It is also a story of cultural exchange and the gradual forging of a distinct Russian identity. The emergence of the Kievan Rus coincided with a period of great Viking expansion from Scandinavia. These intrepid seafarers, known as Varangians, were drawn to the region by the lure of trade and plunder. Among the most significant Viking settlements was Novgorod, strategically located at the northern end of the Dnieper River trade route. Known as Holmgard to the Vikings, Novgorod grew into a thriving center of commerce. The year 988 AD marked a turning point in the history of the Kievan Rus. Prince Vladimir the Great adopted Christianity to unify his realm. This was a strategic decision with far-reaching implications. The Byzantine Empire represented the pinnacle of civilization. Christianity offered a model for unifying diverse peoples. It also opened new avenues for trade and diplomacy. Byzantine missionaries brought religious and cultural influences to Kiev. The Mongol conquest of the Kievan Rus in the 13th century left a lasting impact on Eastern Europe. From the ashes, a new power center emerged, the city of Moscow. Strategically located, Moscow began as a minor trading post. Its early rulers shrewdly navigated politics, consolidating power. They exploited their position as tribute collectors, expanding their territories. The Grand Princes of Moscow emerged as the preeminent power in the region. The Grand Princes of Moscow were astute politicians and ruthless pragmatists. They understood the importance of cultivating alliances, both within and beyond the Russian lands. One of their key strategies was to forge a close relationship with the rising power of the Orthodox Church. The Metropolitan of Kiev, the spiritual leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, had relocated to Moscow in the early 14th century, lending a sense of legitimacy and divine favor to the Muscovite princes. This alliance proved to be mutually beneficial. The Church provided spiritual authority and ideological justification for the growing power of Moscow, while the princes generously endowed monasteries and defended the Orthodox faith. The Muscovite princes also understood the importance of projecting an image of power and piety. They commissioned magnificent cathedrals and icons, showcasing the wealth and splendor of their realm. They presented themselves as defenders of the Orthodox faith against the Catholic West and the Muslim South, rallying the Russian people to their banner. The reign of Ivan IV, better known as Ivan the Terrible, marked a watershed moment in Russian history. Ivan was a visionary ruler and a ruthless tyrant. In 1547, he crowned himself Tsar of all the Russias, asserting absolute authority. His reign saw military conquests that expanded Russian territory. The year 1613 marked the beginning of a new era in Russian history, one that would see the country transformed into a major European power. After years of turmoil and instability following the death of Ivan the Terrible, a young nobleman named Mikhail Romanov was elected Tsar by a national assembly, ending the period known as the Time of Troubles. Mikhail's ascension to the throne marked the beginning of the Romanov dynasty, a lineage that would rule Russia for over 3 centuries. The early Romanov Tsars faced the daunting task of restoring order and stability to a realm still reeling from decades of chaos. They consolidated their power, expanded their territories eastward into Siberia, and began to forge a more centralized and autocratic state. While the Romanovs embraced the legacy of their predecessors, they also recognized the need for change. Russia, despite its vast size and resources, lagged behind its European counterparts in terms of technology, military power, and administrative efficiency. The reign of Peter the Great stands as a pivotal chapter in Russian history. Peter was a man of immense energy, ambition, and vision. One of Peter's most enduring legacies was the founding of St. Petersburg in 1703. This new capital symbolized Russia's westward orientation. He reorganized the army, creating a powerful military force. Peter's reign set the stage for Russia's emergence as a major European power. The reign of Catherine the Great from 1762 to 1796, a German-born princess who came to the Russian throne through marriage and a palace coup, marked another period of significant expansion and cultural flourishing for the Russian Empire. Catherine, an admirer of Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire and Montesquieu, sought to portray herself as an enlightened despot, a ruler who used her absolute power to promote the welfare of her subjects and the advancement of knowledge. However, Catherine's reign was also marked by contradictions. While she spoke of reform and enlightenment, she presided over a system that remained deeply unequal and autocratic. Her attempts to implement even modest reforms met with resistance from the powerful nobility, forcing her to compromise and, in some cases, backtrack on her promises. Despite these challenges, Catherine's reign saw Russia's borders expand significantly. She successfully waged wars against the Ottoman Empire, securing control of the Black Sea coast and the Crimean Peninsula. The 19th century witnessed the gradual unraveling of the Romanov dynasty as social, economic, and political factors created unrest. The vast Russian Empire, held together by autocracy, faced mounting pressure. The Industrial Revolution had a delayed and uneven impact on Russia. It spurred city growth and a vocal middle class, but also increased social tensions. The emancipation of the serfs in 1861 did little to alleviate peasant struggles. The Romanov regime clung to autocracy, using repression and censorship to silence dissent. This only fueled opposition, pushing more Russians towards radical ideologies. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, the Russian Empire teetered on the brink. Decades of discontent erupted in unrest, shaking the Romanov regime. The revolution of 1905, sparked by war with Japan and Bloody Sunday, revealed the fragility of Tsarist autocracy. Workers demanded better conditions and political rights. Peasants rose against landlords. The Tsarist government responded with repression and concessions. The revolution shattered the Tsar's invincibility and emboldened revolutionaries. World War I proved to be the final nail in the coffin of the Romanov dynasty. The war exposed the deep-seated rot within the Russian state. The Tsarist government, riddled with incompetence and corruption, failed to manage the war effort. By early 1917, Russia was a powder keg waiting to explode. In February 1917, strikes and demonstrations in Petrograd escalated into a full-blown revolution. On March 2, 1917, Tsar Nicholas II abdicated, ending 3 centuries of Romanov rule. The February Revolution brought hope and uncertainty in Russia. A provisional government emerged, promising reforms and an end to the war. But it couldn't consolidate power or address societal problems. The Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, stepped into the power vacuum. Lenin returned in April 1917, advocating revolution and promising peace, land and bread. The Bolsheviks gained support with their slogans and organization. In October 1917, they seized control in Petrograd. The provisional government collapsed, and the Bolsheviks established a socialist state. The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 marked a watershed moment in Russian and world history. Lenin's triumph ushered in a new era of communist experimentation with profound consequences. The early Soviet Union saw both idealistic fervor and brutal repression. Lenin consolidated power, suppressing opposition to secure the socialist state. The Russian Civil War from 1918 to 1922 was a chaotic conflict. Despite early disadvantages, the Bolsheviks emerged victorious. The victory came at a heavy price, with millions perishing. The economy lay in ruins, but the Bolsheviks pressed on with their plans. The interwar years were a time of rapid industrialization, collectivization of agriculture, and ruthless suppression of dissent under the iron rule of Joseph Stalin. Stalin, who emerged as the undisputed leader of the Soviet Union after Lenin's death in 1924, implemented a series of 5-year plans designed to transform the Soviet Union from a predominantly agrarian society into a modern industrial powerhouse. These plans, while achieving impressive results in terms of industrial growth, came at a tremendous human cost. The collectivization of agriculture, a brutal and poorly planned campaign to consolidate individual peasant farms into large, state-run collectives, resulted in widespread famine, social upheaval, and millions of deaths. Stalin's paranoia and ruthlessness led to the Great Purge of the 1930s, a period of mass terror in which anyone perceived as a threat to his power, real or imagined, was eliminated. Millions of Soviet citizens were executed, sent to labor camps, or disappeared without a trace during this dark chapter in Soviet history. The uneasy alliance between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union proved short-lived. On June 22, 1941, Hitler launched a massive surprise attack on the Soviet Union. The German invasion caught the Soviet Union off guard. The Red Army, reeling from Stalin's purges, suffered catastrophic defeats. However, the Soviet people mounted a fierce resistance. The Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point in the war. The Soviet victory marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The Soviet Union, along with its allies, triumphed over Nazi Germany in 1945. The Soviet Union emerged from World War II as a superpower, challenging the established world order. Yet cracks in the Soviet edifice began to appear, widening into gaping fissures. By the 1980s, economic stagnation and social unrest led to an existential crisis. Mikhail Gorbachev's rise to power in 1985 marked a turning point. He initiated glasnost and perestroika, aiming for openness and restructuring. However, Gorbachev's reforms proved to be too little, too late. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the end of an era. The Cold War, which had cast a long shadow over global politics, finally ended. For Russia, the post-Soviet era has been a time of profound transformation. The immediate aftermath was economic turmoil, political instability, and social upheaval. Boris Yeltsin emerged as the first president of the newly independent Russian Federation. He oversaw the adoption of a new constitution and the transition to a market economy. On the global stage, Russia struggled to define its new role post-Cold War. The United States, as the sole superpower, expanded its influence in Eastern Europe. NATO's expansion into former Soviet bloc countries was seen by Moscow as a threat. Vladimir Putin's rise to the presidency marked a turning point for Russia. Putin, a former KGB officer, aimed to restore Russia's status as a great power. Under Putin, Russia pursued a more assertive foreign policy. The 2008 war in Georgia and the 2014 annexation of Crimea showed Russia's willingness to use military force. As Russia navigates the 21st century, it faces numerous challenges. Economically, it remains dependent on oil and gas, vulnerable to global price changes. Politically, under Putin, Russia has become increasingly authoritarian. The war in Ukraine has strained Russia's relationship with the West. Sanctions have isolated Russia economically and diplomatically. The future of Russia remains uncertain, with significant choices ahead. From the frozen expanse of Siberia to the bustling heart of Moscow, Russia's story unfolds across time and change. From the rise of the Kievan Rus to the embrace of Orthodox Christianity and the ascendance of Moscow, the seat of powerful tsars. The Soviet era, born in revolution, left an indelible mark. Today, modern Russia grapples with its legacy while navigating a world of uncertainties.